So I'm here with Travis Schlenk, the Hawks general manager, who has done an amazing job here over the last 3 years. So much so, I think the entire basketball ops got a raise, but we'll talk about that in a second. Travis, thanks for joining me, man. I appreciate it here on Shared Stories. And again, I wanted to visit with interesting people. I think you've had an interesting career arc getting here, and I wanted to be able to share some of the stories and backstories and things of that nature with you, to our listeners and to my fans as well. So thanks for joining me, man. I appreciate it.
No problem at all. Thanks for having me on.
Let's talk first about your family, because I moved to Georgia 7 years ago. Had been in Houston 14 years doing radio, TV, ESPN stuff, and then got this opportunity to come to Atlanta. My daughter was in the second grade at the time. So, we were worried, my wife and I, about how the transition was going to be. And I know you got 3 kids, Morgan, Charlotte, Will. What's the transition been like for your family? Because you were in the Bay Area for a long time, 13 years, right?
Yeah, you did your homework, man. You know my whole life story there. Yeah, we moved here. My oldest daughter at the time was going to be in 5th grade. My youngest at the time was going to be in 2nd grade, and my little guy was still pre-K. So we got real fortunate. The transition with my kids has been great. We are in a great little neighborhood here in Atlanta. We've really enjoyed our time here, and hopefully have our opportunity to stay here a few more years.
Yeah, well, listen, the job you're doing, I think you're going to be all right. The transition from Oakland to Atlanta. What's the Bay Area like compared to being here in Atlanta?
You were extremely fortunate because you came from Houston, so you're used to the humidity.
Yeah.
My oldest daughter, when the first time she got to Atlanta, all 3 of my children were born and raised in the Bay Area, walked outside the airport, and she said, "Why is the air wet?"
It's hot.
Yeah. The Bay Area is unbelievable weather-wise. When it's 50 degrees outside, people are putting on their winter coats because it's cold. And when it's 80 degrees, people are saying, "Oh, my gosh, it's hot out here today," and there's zero humidity. So, we got here, and, the humidity struck my family, especially my kids. Also, the bugs. We don't have cockroaches in the Bay Area. We didn't have cockroaches in the Bay Area.
Yeah.
We got a few here in Georgia.
No doubt. And some of them fly. I mean, that's the thing. You go to get him, and he's flying, and then you run. So, yeah, it's listen, the Bay Area is beautiful, but spending all that time out there, I know, again, the transition of getting here to Atlanta. You a Too Short or E40 fan?
I'm going to go with Too Short. Blow the Whistle is probably my favorite between the two.
All right, fair enough. That's a Bay Area question. This is Shared Stories, guys. It's Carl Dukes with Travis Schlenk, the general manager of our Atlanta Hawks. Bethel College in Kansas? How the hell did you end up there?
It's a small liberal arts school in Kansas. They recruited me to play basketball. I was down to a few of those schools in the state, and I just, when I went there for my visit, I just, got along really well with the guys on the team, the coach. Growing up, always wanted to be a college basketball coach. Coach Schaefer, who was the coach there at the time, asked me what I wanted to do when I went out of college. And, I told him I want to be a college basketball coach. So he was really good friends at the time with an assistant at the University of Cincinnati when Bob Huggins was head coach there, and they had it rolling. And so he had this assistant coach from Cincinnati. A player at my level didn't have many assistant coaches from Division I high-powered schools calling him. So I was like, all right, this guy's connected. I'm going to go there. He can help my career. So it obviously worked out for me long-term. But that's really how I picked Bethel.
Interesting. Yeah, Huggy Bear. So as I did college basketball and football over those years, about 10 or 12 years, got a chance to know Bob Huggins. Great guy, great coach. You're right. He had Cincinnati rolling. What was your skill set? What kind of player were you?
Well, I was a shooter. I like to think I had a good mind for the game, but I was definitely one of those guys that needed players' help to get shots up. I wasn't going to beat anybody off the dribble.
Okay. You weren't going to beat anybody off the bounce, no?
No, sir.
You needed somebody to set it up.
Yeah, the self-awareness. You have to have that.
No doubt. Know your role. Were you a three-point guy?
Yes, sir.
Okay.
Yes, sir.
So what was your percentages? Like, did you shoot it well?
Oh, yeah. I could make shots. You don't want to leave me open.
Okay. Listen, there's the guys on every team that's like that, right? That, you go, don't leave him open, or he's the guy that's beating everybody in practice. And so I was curious about that. You end up going to Wichita State, which is also a great place to go watch a basketball game if you've never been. First time I went there, I was thinking, what's this environment going to be? And I walk in, and Midwest basketball, I mean, the coaches know their stuff. The crowd was totally in it. I don't even remember what game it was. This is like early 2000s, mid 2000s, somewhere around there. And I walk in, and the environment was bananas. Now, you go there. You went there for your master's. You did not play there, correct?
Correct. I did not.
So what was your time there like? What was just a quick in and out, go get the master's and out?
Yeah, so I was fortunate enough to be a graduate teaching assistant at Wichita State, which means they paid for my master's degree, which is great. So, I taught some of those very tough weightlifting classes, badminton classes early on in the morning, and at night, I took my graduate classes. So I was there for a year and a half, and then I had to do an internship to finish up my master's degree, and that's when my MBA career started with my internship.
It's Travis Schlenk, guys, here on Shared Stories. So let's fast forward then to the Hawks, because that's the background. Who calls you? Who did you talk to? How did this come about? Because when Bud was here and the things that were going on and a lot of people were wondering where the Hawks might go, were you in contact? Was your agent? How did this all come about?
Well, the Hawks hired a search firm to lead the search for my position. The search firm guy reached out to me, had my first conversation with him. From there, after they vetted me, I had a short probably 15-minute conversation with Tony Ressler and Grant Hill. The next day, I had a longer 2-hour interview with members of the search firm, our two alternate governors, Rick Snoll and Stephen Price. From there, I guess...
Was that exhausting, by the way? 2 hours? I mean, are they just grilling you?
Yeah, they're asking me a lot of questions. I think at the end of them, the search firm guy called me back and said, I think you want to move over with your personality, because after being on the phone for that long, eventually the smart-ass side of me comes out. I can keep it in check for a little bit, but when you ask me a dumb question, eventually I'm going to tell you asked a dumb question politely.
Yes,
but you'll know that I feel like that's a stupid question. So that came out, and I think they appreciated that side. I guess so. They hired me, so here I am. But after that conversation, in-person interview, there was a dinner with those gentlemen again, and then a formal interview the following day, which happened to be in Washington, D.C.
It's interesting, Travis, because I think, most fans, most people think, there's one phone call made, you want the job? Yeah. And then it's done. That's a process. Like, at any point did you think, I don't know if this is going to happen, or you're feeling better and better about it as it goes along?
Well, I mean, obviously, you know nowadays in the world of sports, nothing's really a secret. So the other people that are interviewing. There's tons of rumors going about that. They made me take a personality test. So I just thought for sure that was the end of it right there for me.
What the hell? What is that? What is that? Like a lie detector? What is that personality test?
Yeah, it's basically a test where they ask you the same question 50 different ways to try to figure out if you're lying, or what kind of person you are, what kind of leadership skills, things like that. And I don't know. They must not have graded it, because they wouldn't have hired me if they would have.
Well, I tell you what, it is interesting to find out the background there. What's your passions outside of hoops? Let's talk about some of the things that you do. This is life. I try to tell people sports is my life, right? I talk about it every day, a big show. I'm doing all this other stuff in and around sports, but it's not who I am. Like, I love it. I love what I do. So I'm assuming that's the same thing with you. You're around this. You do it all the time. But what are your other passions?
It's hard, as you know. You have a daughter. I've got 3 kids. Before I had children, I used to love golf a lot. But, that's a 4-hour commitment. So I don't play as much. My son and my oldest daughter are kind of getting into it, so it allows me to go out there a little bit with them, which is nice. So hopefully that'll be something that I start playing more of. I enjoy being outside, really. Big outside guy. I enjoy going fishing.
Me too.
Trying to get my son into that.
Does he like it?
He does. When we're catching stuff, like any 5-year-old. When we're not, it's pretty boring.
That was my dad, man. We as a kid, he'd go out and we'd go out, and I was just like you said, any other kid, and I'm like, what's supposed to happen here? And he's like, patience, son, patience. And I give him credit. To this day, it's where I get my patience from, because if you go out on a boat and you're out there sitting and you're waiting for these fish to bite, this is before all the electronic stuff that you could actually find the fish. You're just kind of trolling, and we'd be out there for 3, 4, 5 hours sometimes, and he just loved the quiet, the piece of it, and I kind of think I took that, and I love it as well, man. So that's cool. So you enjoy fishing. What else? I mean, I'm a cigar guy. I love bourbons, beers. cigars. Obviously, we got our own brew, which we'll talk about a little bit later. But any of those areas that you enjoy?
Not a cigar guy at all, not a bourbon guy. I am a beer guy, though, so I'm very excited to see what's in the bag across the desk here.
Stop peeking.
I love my IPAs, as you can see by my belly.
It's all good. It's all right.
I'm trying to get into the red wines a little bit, and trying to become a little more sophisticated with my drinking.
I understand.
But I really can't tell the difference, and when people ask me the difference, I can't explain it, but I do notice there is a difference. So I'm very, very much at the beginning stages of becoming a wine connoisseur.
I'm with you, and that's a quest, by the way. It's Travis Schlenk, guys. It's Shared Stories. So let's get into some other stuff, because it's some basketball-related stuff. Now you can let your hair down a little bit. Why do you think it didn't work with KD and Golden State? Everybody has their assumptions, their thoughts about this, Travis. You were there. You we'll get into this as well. Obviously, you were the guy that identified Draymond, obviously Clay and Steph. But everybody thought this was a no-brainer. Like, KD's going to go there. They're going to be there forever. This thing's going to work for, X amount of years. They'll run off X amount of championships. And now he's gone. Why do you think it didn't work?
I don't know that I would say it didn't work. They went to 3 finals and won 2 championships. So that's pretty – I would say that was success.
It is. And let me rephrase that, because you're right. I mean, you go there to win championships, and he did. Why is he still not there long term when you have that situation with those great players and you can continue to win?
I think, and again, this is all speculation by me, and I probably should be real careful here because these are players on other teams, so I don't know how much I can go into it. But I think what you have, just more generally speaking, in today's NBA, is the money is so big for the stars, they're going to get their money wherever they go.
It doesn't matter anymore.
The money's,
where you're at, per se.
It's more, where do I want to live?
Okay.
What am I going to try to accomplish off the court in my other ventures to increase my brand? So I feel like you see guys bouncing around a lot more because the money's so big. So they can kind of pick and choose, okay, I want to be in this market. I want to play with this guy. I've accomplished this with this organization, like all of us, whatever industry you're in. You were in Houston in the sports media market, and you know what? Let me go try the Atlanta sports media market. It's really the same thing with these guys now.
Were you there when he came in to visit? Were you there when KD came in to visit? And, apparently the stories are, and you're more privy to this than anybody, like there wasn't this big sell job apparently with him, right? I don't know. I mean, how did that all play out? Because he's in Oklahoma City. I know him and Draymond and some other guys are cool, and they're talking to him. But from the organization standpoint at that time, to try to get him to come over, was there a big sell job?
Yeah, he held his meetings that summer in the Hamptons. So the teams that he wanted to meet with went to the Hamptons and met with them, spent a couple hours with them. That was the process he chose, and then he hunkered down with his guys and, made the decision he thought was going to be best for him.
Were you a part of those meetings?
I was not in the Hamptons, no.
Okay. Yeah, I had read that somewhere and saw that. I thought that was interesting about Kevin Durant. Meanwhile, we talked about this as we started this podcast today, guys, and it's Travis Schlenk, Hawks general manager, joining me here on Shared Stories. You guys are doing so well with the draft and everything else. Everybody got a little bump in this offseason, which is great. You get a new title. What's it mean for you? You're general manager, now you're also president of basketball ops. How does that translate for your everyday work?
Honestly, the job doesn't change at all with the change of title. My position last season is the same as this season. I think, anytime that you get a promotion, I think it signifies to your counterparts, signifies to the general public that, my bosses, the owners of the franchise feel like I'm doing a good job. And, obviously that makes you feel good. That's way better than getting demoted.
Listen, anytime, I think Cam Newton said this to me, anytime you can get an infusement into your bank account, it feels good, is what he told me. So I was like, that's a good way to put it. So you guys guys do, everybody's moving in the right direction in this organization. I love the direction. I've talked about it. I think, Travis, for the first time in a long time, and I was sharing this with Garen, who works for you guys as well, the city can grow with this team. And I don't know, I was here in the 60-win season, and it was great. But there were a bunch of old guys on that team and guys in transition. But